Hello and welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and the lady with the new hair is Aprylete Russell. How you doing,
That's right.
Aprylete?
I'm doing good today on this beautiful Thursday. How are
It
you?
it is lovely. A little bit humid, which I really like because it's threatening to rain. Did
hmm
you get rain over your way?
I have not gotten rain yet. It looks like it's about to start, but no, we haven't received it over here in Addison.
Yeah, if it's Thursday, it means rain is threatening.
It's near.
Yeah, that's just the way it is. Aprilette is our mental health and wellness contributor, and we're going to talk a lot about that today, as this is the beginning of Mental Health Awareness Month, as you make us know.
Yes. Yep. Sure is, and I'm super excited for this month. It's a month of positivity and a month of education and awareness. So I'm
Oh,
happy.
good for you. Moms are going, hey, over here, it is also Mother's Day Awareness Month.
It is.
And for some folks, some moms out there celebrating their birthdays in the month of May as well. Aprilette, what's going on with you? What's the word? What's the haps? Last time I talked to you, you were uh, traveling, and
Yes.
yeah.
Uh-huh. So yeah, I went to LA last week. This week, do I have a word or what the hap? No, not really. Just taking it easy.
Oh,
And
good.
and,
Okay.
and being kind, listening to Yogi's Jewels, just being kind to myself. And we took off Krita Girl and we just went, with the natural hair and all of those good self-care things. And that is me being kind. So that's what this week has been all about for me.
Which was an experience unto itself. I can't wait for you to tell that story and share it with us at some point. I'm not sure when you will
Jesus.
be able to, but I look forward to your telling of that story. I don't have the patience for that kind of time
Baby.
to give up at a hair salon
Baby,
where
the beauty shop. I'm like, but I haven't experienced that in a while. And I mean, ladies, I'm sure just going to the beauty shop, it's already a trip within itself.
hmm
But when you have to stay extra hours, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I had a hairstylist who well, for the better part of 20 years, I guess. I tried several different people and then was introduced to her, and it just kind of worked.
hmm
And she worked well, and she worked fast.
Love that.
And so that was a good thing. And then she just decided she was tired. She didn't want to do it anymore. And during the pandemic, well, no, before the pandemic, she gave it up. She gave up her spot. And so
hmm
I was like, this ain't gonna work. And I
I need
found a
you.
spot for her to work out of, and it was like,
Uh-huh.
it's really the connection that I make with people that do my hair is really quite interesting.
hmm
And I think that's true for a lot of us. And our hair is our crown and glory in a
Yes.
lot of
And
respects.
yeah, and it's so hard too when you have moved different cities. So for me being new
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
trying to find a stylist that, knows my hair, loves my hair, and is gonna like bring that attention and be fast and efficient, it's very hard. So I've been through a couple of different people and I'm trying to like hone it in and find like one person. Because if I
Mm-hmm.
could take who I had in Atlanta with me, I would have packed up in my suitcase.
Right, right. And for a while I was going back and forth to Chicago and getting my
Oh
hair
wow.
done.
Really?
Yeah, and especially when I was doing
Girl.
perms. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Because I had a relationship with this woman that was a relationship that I developed while I was working uh, in Chicago and going to Andre Walker, who gave me
Mm-hmm.
up because he got a really big time client named Oprah Winfrey. So he
Uh-huh. So
gave
he
the
like
rest of us up and kind of parceled us amongst his proteges. And so the hair thing is really interesting. I
yeah.
remember one time I was working in Chicago, and my friend Bonnie DeShong came in crying, and she was just so bereft. I thought, who died? And she said a name. And so I was like, and it was her hairstylist. And all
Oh.
of us could really understand,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, how, what that means. Not only the loss of a friend possibly, but somebody who really plays an important
hmm
part in your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So
Black women in our hair, like
mhm.
it's important.
So tip of the hat to all the beauty dressers, hairstylists, and
Okay.
whatever else you want to be called. We appreciate you. All right, April, let's talk about the What You Need to Know newsletter. And Aprylete, as I mentioned, is our mental health and wellness contributor. And this is her wheelhouse. And in the newsletter, we try to talk about a number of different things with our young contributors. And Aprylete, let it be known that May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
It is for sure. And which Mental Health Awareness Month is raises awareness and educates people on mental health issues such as illnesses, wellness, and substance abuse prevention. And for decades, there has been a large amount of stigma against people living with mental illness, which is something that May Mental Health Awareness Month is trying to go ahead and just bring awareness to. And a lot of people don't know that Mental Health Awareness Month was first recognized in the US in 1949, and it was founded by a nonprofit called Mental Health of America. And studies show that 1 in 5 adults in the US live with mental illness, and not even half of them have received treatment for it. And that's what advocates like myself are trying to bring awareness to, that you guys need to go get checked out. And there's free screenings at mentalhealthofamerica.com. You can take a screening. And we're trying to make therapy accessible to all people, especially people of color. And one of the reasons for this is that mental illness is not talked about enough in our communities, and people don't realize that they have an illness or some challenges. And so this month is just dedicated to educating and opening up that conversation for people to know that they're not alone and to reach out if they get help.
What does the testing look like for to determine if you have mental health or mental illness?
So with the testing, it's not necessarily going to give you a diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go to the website, mentalhealthofamerica.com, and there is like a screening. So there's just common questions. How do you feel? What are you experiencing? Is this true or false? Things like that. And then once you are done with the questioning, it's like probably, don't give me the line, because I think it's like 20 to 50 questions.
Sure.
But once you get done with that, then they'll give you resources and how to move forward with whatever your results are. And so it's kind of like a check-in, check-up type of situation.
So at any point, does anybody sound like a Black mama? Say, ain't nothing wrong with you, come.
I'm sure.
Well, we are going to look at mental health awareness all through the month of May, and thanks for kicking us off. So it is about education and opening up discussions about it, and certainly as an advocate, you've been through this and you've recognized all of this. Have you gone through one of these as well? One of these assessments?
Oh yes, I've done an assessment, and I've also outside of like just bringing awareness as an advocate this month is like getting involved like with your community or a nonprofit that's in your neighborhood. So I have held different summits where we made it accessible for people to go ahead and go through the screening. And this is something that you can do once a month if you need to, just again to like check up and check in on yourself. And some of the questions that are asked are things that you may not be thinking of yourself, or questions that other people are not asking you about different things that you are going through or different challenges that may arise and how you're dealing with them. So it's very important, I feel, and I encourage everybody, to take this training. And I encourage everybody to really just try to take this month to get involved or just build some connections, get outdoors, practice mindfulness, or even take it a step further and talk to your legislator. There's a lot of things that you can do and talk to like your local Senate and government and just tell why mental health is so important and why it should be a priority, and write letters to those elected officials. And there's a lot of like prompts online and different even with different agencies like Mental Health of America or NAMI, there's a lot of resources to help write those letters to your elected officials to, make mental health a priority in your community, or, getting to some different organizations.
And do they make recommendations as far as therapists are concerned?
Yes.
They do. I think that whole choosing a therapist thing is very interesting, and it is a lot like, as I said before, is a lot like dating. Just because you go to one doesn't mean you're stuck with that one. If it doesn't work for you, if you don't feel a level of comfort, or you don't feel as though you're getting your money's worth, whatever that looks like, a lot of people are encouraged to step out and find one who does
Yeah,
work for you,
and you
and
have
find that
to.
right fit.
And you have to. And I think what I've experienced with different therapists, they are open to, if I'm not right for you, then we do not have to continue this.
Hmm.
And then when first go to therapy, you'll have that initial kind of consultation. You'll have that initial take in, so you can get to know them. They can get to know you, and make sure that they're crossing off marks on your list, just as well, because there are some therapists that may integrate faith-based principles. There's some that just totally focus on maybe relationships or learning disabilities and things like that. So again, like you said, you have to find someone that meshes with you, and that's really important, because this is going to be a relationship that you're building
Right.
and that you're having.
The organization you recommended is Mental Health America,
Yeah,
for
Mental
people to
Health of
go.
America.
Mental Health of America,
Yes.
and to make sure that you can go there and you can get some resources there.
Yep. mentalhealthofamerica.com.
And what are you doing for your good mental health today?
Oh, today. Well, what I'm doing today is literally talking to you and just spreading the word. So I think that just using my voice is a part of the advocacy, and that's what I'm doing today.
Hmm.
And even for our organization, our team, I had went ahead and posted the screening, and so that's something that I implemented in the workplace. And so a lot
Hmm.
of people too, you guys are working, so it's like, talk to your supervisor or talk to your boss if you can, just about what practices are you guys doing in the workplace, so you could feel better and feel good. And I'm sure some organizations have benefits, and outside of that, there's something that you can do at the workplace. So that was my contribute to
Well, we
mental
thank
health.
you for that contribution. We really do. I was wondering if you were able to take a walk with Gucci Mane today.
Yes, we took our morning and our afternoon walk. We got to do that all the time. Baby, if I could put him on the balcony to do his thing, I would. Because sometimes mama's tired, but no, he got his little walk in.
Yeah, just getting out, and I've had some issues with sleeping, and normally, if I wake up and I find I can't go back to sleep, hello, Gucci,
Say hello.
hello. I find that getting up and taking an early morning walk is good for me in terms of getting some sunlight, and kind of gets my day started.
It really is.
I
That
think,
vitamin D.
yeah, for sure. I think I'm gonna start going to bed at 3. That's my new 3
3
a.m.
p.m., 3
Like 3
a.m. I
a.m.
mean,
Because that's when I wake up. It doesn't matter what time I go to sleep, but I wake up at 3.
you
And then
know what? You're not the only person that wakes up at 3 a.m. Like, Yogi, put a poll up. How many people wake up at 3 a.m.? Because I've been waking up literally at 3 a.m., 2:55 ish for the past couple of weeks. Like, maybe it's the retrograde. I don't know. Mrs.
maybe,
Striley, what are we in right now?
yeah,
Because 3
still
a.m.
is Mercury still in retrograde? I think that's fair. Because
Mm-hmm.
it does seem like it. And
Well, the church folks say that's the devil's playground.
that
That's them
hour.
devil hours.
Well, I'm not sure what my answer is, but that's my latest discussion with myself as well. You just go to bed at 3 and see, how that works for you.
Oh, goodness
I
gracious.
don't know. I don't know. I don't know, April. Um, but I do want to talk about some other things that are in the
Yeah.
newsletter. For people who have not subscribed to the newsletter, we would love to have you be a part of the What You Need to Know news crew. It is absolutely free. If you go to SybilWilkes.com, give us your name and your email address, and we'll have it in your email box every Monday through Friday morning. And we talk about issues that affect and that are inclusive of the African American community. Unfortunately, a sad story out of Atlanta. Actually, not only just one story, but we added to the story today. We were doing a follow up to the mass shooting in Atlanta that happened
Mhm.
on Wednesday. And now there's one that happened today,
Wow.
not too far out of Atlanta. But the shooting that took place in Atlanta on Wednesday involved a 24-year-old Black man who was at a meeting with his mother when he became agitated. And his mother says that this young man, who has been identified as Dion Patterson, did suffer from mental illness.
Mhm.
He became frustrated or agitated in the meeting and went and pulled out his handgun and he shot 4 people, not including his mother. He did not. But one young woman was killed, and 4 other women,
Mm.
3 other women were wounded, seriously wounded. And um, so I'm sorry, it's altogether it was 5. One woman
Mhm.
was killed and 4 were wounded. And this 39-year-old woman, identified as Amy St. Pierre, a Centers for Disease Control employee, was killed. And the age range of the women was 25 to 71. He left the facility and ran and eventually ran towards a gas station where he took over someone's truck and drove, and they were able to use the traffic cameras in order to track him. And then he ditched the car, and 911 calls did come in and let them know where this young man, who was a former member of the U.S. Coast
Yeah.
Guard, was. Uh, when I did the follow up on the story that is going to be in tomorrow's newsletter, his mother says that this is an issue with the VA
Mhm.
and that he was not getting the medication that he needed. And it's just heartbreaking. It is just
Yeah.
absolutely heartbreaking. And we'll talk about the latest one, the latest shooting, which just really doesn't make any sense. But um,
It's
mass
yeah.
murder is just not, it's not the answer, obviously, but we are seeing a lot of people who are in distress.
Yeah.
And
They're literally on the brink. And to be honest, I mean, I could get flack for this, but it's like I don't feel mental health and mental illness is the issue. Guns are literally
mhm.
the issue. Um, yeah, guns are the issue.
And not just guns. And this wasn't the case of an automatic rifle, but April, a lot of politicians, and this is just my opinion, a lot of politicians are not falling on the mental health issue and saying that, the connection, but the access to these weapons.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And how, a lot of states, especially in the South, people are having easier access. They don't
All
have to
free
have.
and willy nilly.
Yeah, yeah. They don't have to have a license. They can an open carry and
Yep.
all of this. And it was very touching to see Senator Raphael Warnock on the floor of the United States Senate yesterday. His children, he obviously represents Georgia, and his young children go to 2 schools that were on lockdown as a result of
Mm,
yesterday's shooting. And you can imagine, here's this
the
man,
fear.
yeah, and he said, and it's going to affect all of us. The sad part is that he is in the minority of those who are willing to do something about
Yep.
gun rights, and this will continue until it does affect all of us. And
Yep.
I'm just wondering what it will take. Myra J has said over time after time that it's going to have to take one of these gun rights activists in the Senate, in the House, in the state politics to be killed or wounded for
Yeah.
them to make a change. But I say that's not enough, because we've had members of the United States Congress who were practicing for a baseball game a few years ago, and the third highest leading member of the Republican contingent in the House, from Louisiana, was seriously wounded.
Oh wow.
And that
Still
never,
nothing.
no,
Nothing.
no, no, it is, it's a sad situation. Um, so some of the other stories that we talk about, Cameron is talking about a Senate bill that aims to protect preteens from social media anxieties. Once again, on the theme of what we're talking about with mental health, and anxiety certainly plays a big part in that. That's a
Yeah.
term that we hear connected to mental health a lot. The Black Health Matters anxiety, what it is and how it affects the Black community. So there is a discussion about that. And then and Coy had a story with a man who was affected by mental health
Yeah.
challenges. Unfortunately, lost his life on the in New York City subway. So all of these things, we are really and led by Aprylete, we are efforting to give folks as much information about mental health awareness, where you can go to get help, and to let you know that you're not alone.
Yes. Yeah.
that is really the most important part that we can talk about. And also in the What You Need to Know newsletter, we always have our Yogi's Jewel, which we'll close with today, and the wellness check, as well as the little known Black history fact, and the HBCU corner. So please join us. We'd love to have you be a part of it. And when you do get your newsletter every day, please open it, take a look at it, and then join us in the evening so we can talk about it some more.
That's
Okay.
right.
All righty. So let's talk about or what's really going on question of the day. So this is a part of a discussion that Yolanda and I had today, and um, talking about people responding to others who are going through a difficult time. And so the question is, what's the craziest thing someone has said to you during a difficult time, such as the loss of a job or a death? And
Mm.
in your opinion, how should you or would you like to have people respond to a difficult or a sad situation to you? A lot of people do not know how to respond.
That is true.
If you say, I lost my brother, and they're like, oh, so sorry, and then they kind of get off the phone or whatever, and then when they come back to you, it's like, well, I just didn't know how to respond.
Yeah.
And
I've been through that. I've been through a situation with a really, really good friend whose grandmother passed away.
mhm,
And I just did not know how to respond. I did not know how to help.
mhm,
She didn't tell me directly. I saw a post on social media, so I was a little confused because it was a little cryptic. It just said, "I miss you." Didn't know maybe if she went out of town. Like I did not know, and I didn't want to text him like, "Hey." I just didn't know what to do, and so I ended up finding out that her grandmother passed away, and I'm just like, oh, I just didn't know.
right.
And so when it all came, to, I was able to, send flowers and things like that and apologize for my absence in that moment. But again, I just did not know how to respond or how to deal with that. But I just, from that learning experience, at the end of the day, it's just lead with empathy and lead
Mhm,
with love. And
mhm,
sometimes all you can do is just say, I'm here for you. I'm praying for you. If that's truly what you feel in your heart, and that may just be enough
yeah.
for something like that.
Right. And sometimes people don't know how to accept that either. It's not so much, I mean, I think there's equal, and I don't want to call it blame on both sides, but sometimes, people don't know how to express themselves or to express their sadness for your loss. And sometimes those of us that have experienced loss don't know
Know
how
how to
to
receive it.
accept it. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so I think that sometimes it warrants a discussion, because you, you just manhandle the dog. Sometimes it just warrants a discussion for us to kind of
Yeah.
figure out what's the best way. How would you like to be addressed, or how would you
It's so
like?
tricky.
Yeah, it
It's so
is.
like dealing with emotions and feelings. Like it's so tricky because you really kind of don't know until you know, or when you're in it,
Right.
or if you've experienced something and you can kind of take that and use it maybe in a different situation. But people are so, like, everybody's so different. The way that I may console you may be different than my best friend or a
Mm-hmm.
coworker. And I
Mm-hmm.
actually dealt with that. I actually just dealt with that again this week. A coworker of my mother had passed away, and so what I did was show up the best way that I could. And she actually had sent the email about visitation, like to her home, just to come by. And we have worked together for about 4 months now. And so I showed up with flowers and a plant. I mean, plant and a card.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of silent, but I was just there. I didn't know her mom, but I just asked them if you want to share a picture, if want to share any memories. I'm here to listen, and I
Oh,
just
that's nice.
just showed up in that way. So it's definitely difficult, to be honest.
It is difficult, and for
Yeah.
some of us who are not the sitting around type, as
Yeah.
Yolanda likes to call it, when you go and express your condolences to someone like you did with your coworker, I'm not one just to,
Yeah. You
you
like
know,
in and out, like.
because my love language is to be of service, and
Mm-hmm.
so if I can do something, if you need me to, it used to
Mm-hmm.
be with my mom. She had really beautiful handwriting, and so when people had deaths in their family, she would write out all of the condolence thank yous, right? And so, I would ask if I could do that, or
Mm-hmm.
because my handwriting was better when I was younger. But also buy stamps. Well, we don't do that anymore.
No, no,
Nobody
we
sends
really
their mail by
don't.
stamps. So can I run around? Do you need food? Can I?
Food or anything like that.
I'm not gonna cook you food, but I will buy you food. But just to let you know that you would like to be of service to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if people who are listening, if you have any advice for us, and if what Aprylete is saying. Regina Glover, our friend Regina Glover, says on Facebook, sometimes the person may not accept words of encouragement from others because they aren't ready to accept the loss. That's very true.
True.
Yeah,
Very true.
yeah, that's true. The truer words have never been spoken. And that is, and then you're in a quandary, because you say, well, I'm here when you need me. And then you kind of check back in on people.
Yeah. And you're kind of tiptoeing a little bit. It's just
Right.
like, I don't want
Yeah.
to over,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if this is a loss you've never experienced, then,
Yeah.
like I've lost 2 boyfriends, and people are like, damn, I don't know if I want to be around her, because it's like,
You are so silly.
she's bad luck to
She
the
bad
dudes.
juju.
Yeah. And people don't know how to respond to that. Sometimes if they, like I've lost both my parents, and so that is easier for some people to understand, like especially if they lost a grandparent or something, or a favorite aunt, or that kind of thing. But sometimes people just don't. We
Just
don't know how to
know.
respond, and
Yeah.
then people don't know how to address us either. So it is what it is. Tyrone Bourne on Facebook, like Yogi's Jewel said, showing kindness that can
That's
open
right.
people up to talk. That's true. And if you tell people I'm here, and even if you don't know how to initiate the conversation, sometimes just and for whatever it's worth, sending a text and saying I'm here for you. If you need just to have somebody listen to you, or if
Yeah.
whatever it is,
And that can be enough sometimes.
yeah, sometimes it can. It
Yeah.
really can. So I thank you. Laughter Holman. I love that. Laughter. On YouTube, Google search has some ways to respond during grief, especially notes on funeral home website.
Look, that's right. In and out, Google.
And we were talking about this the other day. I forget how we came up to this, but we were talking about funeral home etiquette. And somebody's saying that they are a little trepidatious about going to funeral homes because
Trepidatious. I'm so sorry. I can put it in context, but
I'm sorry.
trepidatious.
I'm sounding like Cameron. Words that really don't. I can break that down for you.
I love it.
We are hesitant to go to funeral homes because now, oftentimes people, if they died violently, people do show up at those funeral homes.
Retaliation.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And also the question also begs to be asked about funeral attire.
Yeah, it depends on who you laying to rest. It's different,
Right.
because if you laying to rest the homeboy that's in the gang,
and then you got t-shirts, and
you
got
might show up in a
jeans and-
t-shirt with the rib
Yeah.
RIP on the back and in a hat.
Right.
If you laying to rest,
his grandmama.
It's different. You might have to wear all black with some pantyhose. I
Yeah,
haven't wore pantyhose in a
or
year.
whatever the family decides is the
color.
Yeah. So it's like there's so much to this
to think about. Jesus.
I watch a show called A Million Little Things. It just had its season or its series finale the other night, and the kids were going to look for a coffin that one of their elders was dying, and so they went to look for a coffin, and they were talking about how expensive it was, and they worked the woman down like 600% off of the cost of the coffin. And that is another thing to consider, in terms of
all of that.
being prepared for, and making it easier for people, this whole thing. But our initial question is about how to respond, and what's the craziest thing someone has said to you during a difficult time, such as the loss of a loved one, or a job, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. Maybe there's a miscarriage, something that we talk about in the newsletter for tomorrow. But or how should or would you like to people respond to a difficult or a sad situation if you don't have Google at your
Right.
fingertips?
And I was just thinking about when you said difficult time, and then of course you gave examples, but sometimes you have to kind of be empathetic to a person's difficult time, because their difficult time may not be your difficult time.
Right.
So we can't judge like a person's difficult time. I don't know, maybe they lost their, I don't know, favorite pair of shoes. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
not real difficult, but to
Mm-hmm.
them it may be like, oh, these were my shoes. My grandmother gave me these shoes.
Yeah.
These are my,
Yeah.
so it's just like that too. You have to be
Or
mindful
a
with how you,
breakup,
yeah,
or maybe your hairstylist died, or
yeah,
whatever it is. These things that affect you and we may not understand, but certainly we can, as you have said, we can lend some empathy. We can be
yeah,
empathetic to the person and what they're going through.
yeah.
Shirley and Tony Davis on Facebook. I got a couple of sympathy cards. They did help me.
Oh,
I
that's
love to send cards, and so
yeah. I'm a Cardi
um,
too.
are you?
Yeah, I have all. I literally have all of my cards. I could all of my. I have a whole little slab with all my cards in them. I'm a Cardi, and I sing cards. I love cards.
Yeah, yeah. I'm one of those, and I'm making my list for Mother's Day. But it is Z Walker on Facebook said, in the weeks, months, and after the calls, the visits have ceased. Be there for them. That
Yeah,
is really important.
that's
That's something
important.
I learned from my mom. In after my dad died, and I was a little girl, and there was a lot of activity because my father was very popular and had a lot of friends in the fire department and what have you. And then my mom was talking to another friend whose husband died not too long after my dad did, and saying that there's nothing like the quiet
Mm.
after everyone has gone home, after the calls stop,
I got chills.
after
Oof.
after stop bringing the food, and not that we
Yeah.
needed the food and all of that, but it's nothing like the quiet, and you have to be alone with your thoughts, and that is a very difficult time for a lot of people. It
Mm.
really is. So you're absolutely right. And
Showing up in
that
that,
was,
showing up
yeah,
in those
yeah.
moments.
Showing up at those moments is really important, and can be a lifesaver in many
Yeah,
situations. Yeah,
agreed.
absolutely, absolutely. So that is our question. Do we have any more, Yolanda? People respond. Dora Levette Tiggs on Facebook. My sister-in-law is Ethiopian and said that in her home, people don't dress up for
Mm.
funerals. I want people to be very comfortable. And I've gone on the record as saying this. I want people to be very comfortable. You don't have to dress up. As a matter of fact, there's going to be a guest list because not everybody I want there, quite honestly.
So
I'm
how
kidding. I'm
comfortable?
kidding.
Like slipper comfortable or
Whatever makes you feel comfortable, because I'm a hoodie girl, as you
yeah,
can see.
yeah, okay.
So I don't see the necessity of all the dressing up and stuff like that, which is why I loved radio, because
Yep.
you didn't
Get
have
up
to
and
see
go.
all that,
Okay.
right? And to have fun, and to and I think sometimes if you ask people to dress up and that's not their that's not their thing, then it doesn't lend to the sense of celebration
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people like to talk about. So
Yep. The celebration of life.
I like that the Ethiopians don't. I'm not saying wear your night clothes, but if that's where your comfort
That's what
level
I'm
is,
trying. I'm like, can I
okay.
wear my slippers? Because I like my
Okay.
little Uggs.
Okay.
Okay, now.
Okay. All right. And there you go. Janice Eatman on Facebook said there tend to be a lot of people around before and during services. I continue to send people a note or make a call afterwards to
Yeah.
let them know they are not forgotten. I
Beautiful.
believe that. I believe in that too. And sometimes I just have to make notes to myself these days, to check in, and to every couple of weeks or so, maybe every week, whatever the comfort level is, I agree with you. Afterwards, it's really about maintaining that, and for people who are going through medical challenges too. Regina Glover, I had a friend who died from alcoholism. I was so saddened by the death. A friend said, well, he would have kept drinking anyway if she had.
Oh.
Oh my God, if she had lived. I could not believe that she actually thought that was appropriate or encouraging. Oh, that just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Eh,
And that's an
And
example of someone
not
not knowing what
thinking.
to say and not
Yeah,
thinking, and probably shouldn't have said anything.
yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
That's it's and sometimes uh what comes up should not come out.
Yep.
I've said this before. There is a Will Smith movie with his son, and I used to know the name of it, but they play father and son
Mm-hmm.
in the future. It has to do with space and travel and stuff.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
And
about.
so he always tells his son, take a beat, don't act immediately. And I
Mm.
really think that that's something that we should all listen
Yes.
to, and
Take a
just
beat.
kind of not, it's not so important that you be first. Like with telling news, I'm not one of those that, I used to get into it a lot of times with DJs,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because well, we need to go with it. And I was like, I'm not ready. I'm not prepared to give
Yeah.
the story. Sometimes you just need to take a beat, take a moment, or however long you need in order to speak. Not sure
That's
that
the
that's the
jewel.
smartest, but or if
Yep.
you agree or not, but
I
definitely.
agree.
So thank you for participating, everyone. I appreciate it, and also I hope that we will keep these notes in mind, the suggestions as well as the comments that were made. Let's talk about trending.
All right.
As a trending news, things that have happened today. As I mentioned in today's newsletter, we also talked about that my story was about the mass shooting, the murders
Mm-hmm.
in Atlanta. But this happened today. A gunman killed a female McDonald's manager and two relatives before taking his own life in a rural Georgia town
Oh
today.
man.
The shooter killed his 50-year-old mother, his 74-year-old grandmother at two neighboring homes in the small town of Moultrie, south of Atlanta. And they said the 26-year-old gunman also killed a 41-year-old McDonald's manager, then killed himself.
Wow. And you say he was 21?
He was 26.
26.
He killed the 41-year-old McDonald's manager, his 50-year-old mother, and his 74-year-old grandmother.
Wow.
I don't know what that young man was going through, but we have to be mindful of and look for signs, maybe Aprilette,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
people who are indeed going through some sort of crisis.
Yeah. And with that being said, mental health first training is very important. This is where people can receive training and knowledge and skills and the confidence, resources to look for those signs, to
Mm-hmm.
know how to respond. And now you have the resources and the training to get them help. Just as important as like CPR, you're saving a life. This could save a life. So I really think it's very important for people outside of taking the screening that we talked about early is to get trained in mental health first aid.
I
It
agree.
could really, really save a life.
I agree.
Man.
A second story that was covered in today's newsletter. This is a follow up. Coy did the story about a white vigilante not charged in the choking death of mentally ill Black man on a New York subway train. This young man was known in the streets of New York for doing his Michael Jackson impersonations.
Oh.
They said he was one of the kindest souls you would ever likely to meet. He
Oh.
started to descend in some level of darkness in his life, and would be on the subway, and people would hear him complain about the fact that he had no place to live, nothing to eat, and nothing to live for. And he
Mm.
was throwing things at people. And this white veteran, military veteran, um, was shown on video choking this kid to death. No charges have been filed regarding this, but it has been ruled a homicide. Now, just because it's been ruled a homicide does not mean that this man is
Yeah.
going to be charged. And the people um, went on a protest march in the
Mm-hmm.
subways today. Demonstrations going on subway platforms and in the streets. Uh, Cops attempted to detain one protester. Several others rushed at the handful of officers who had to form a circle to fend off attacks. It got quite violent,
Wow.
simmering over the death of this young man, 30-year-old Jordan Neely,
Mm.
a homeless man who was riding subway train Monday when this Marine vet placed him in a chokehold for 15 minutes.
15
white men,
minutes.
other white men also
Just
joined him.
watched.
No, they also, as he was choking him around the neck, they were holding down other parts of his body.
Wow.
And so they said that he appeared to be having a mental health episode. had been pacing and shouting on the train. Cell phone footage shows him the veteran wrestling him to the ground and applying the chokehold. He eventually went unconscious, and
Mm.
although paramedics transported him to a hospital, they could not resuscitate him.
That is sick. That makes me sick to my stomach because
Yeah.
it's so uncalled for. And since we are in May, Mental Health Awareness Month, there is a myth that mentally ill people are violent.
Mm-hmm.
And studies have shown that mentally ill people are more likely to be victims, as we see, of violence.
Right.
And at the end of the day, when it comes to that training, if we are trained in mental health first aid, then we'll be able to visualize what is happening and knowing that there's episode and knowing that, again, studies show that mentally ill people are not violent or
Right.
not,
Yeah.
and so there's other ways to handle situations like that.
Right.
God, that really, really makes me sick.
Uh, and this is happening not only just in New York, it's happening all over our world, all over our country, all over our world.
Yep.
And we have to be mindful of recognizing the signs.
Yep.
And I know the mayor of New York has got a lot on him. He's got Republican governors sending migrants to his city and them trying to find places for migrants to live and come up with the money for all of these things. I know that it's a tough job, but a part of that job is you ran to take care of the people of New York, and something has to be done.
Mm.
Just breaks my heart.
But I hope to see a follow up on that if charges will be brought against
Right.
this military vet for taking matters into his own hands at
Right.
this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't as if he was, according to the stories, it wasn't as if he was affected by this. The kid
Right.
never,
He just
swung out or anything. Um, he took it upon himself, like he said. So. Ed Sheeran, good news for the musician. The jury found that he is not liable in the Marvin Gaye trial, in which they said that he was accused of trying to alter, of using the "Let's Get It On" song as a part of his mashup song. Which is good news, but he was really pissed off before the press. He said, "It's devastating to be accused of stealing someone else's song when we put so much work
I
into
know it
our
is.
livelihoods." He said, "I'm just a guy with a guitar who loves writing music for people to enjoy. I am not and never will allow myself to be a piggy bank for anyone to shake."
Ooh.
Talking about the co-writer of the song who took him to court.
I haven't heard the song. Is the song is it
It's
similar?
well, people who know music say that it's not.
Mm-hmm.
People who just the average listener like me is like, it kind of sounds a little similar.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's going to be interesting to see how this all falls out. The estate of Ed Townsend, co-writer of the "Let's Get It On" song, slapped the lawsuit on Sheeran, alleging the 2014 hit "Thinking Out Loud" ripped key elements of the 1973 Marvin Gaye classic, claiming several aspects like the melody and even harmony were a match.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I will ask Stephen Hill when he comes back what that looks like, because I'm just really curious as to how people in the business respond to this, and people who have a real musical ear
Yeah.
and can talk about it.
And you would think that literally people like musicians would be smart enough not to do that, especially with a song like that.
Yeah, but tell them, to the folks like, what was it, Pharrell and
What's his name? I know
Robin
exactly.
Thicke.
Yep, Robin Thicke. Yep.
Yeah. They got clipped
Yep.
for ripping off Marvin Gaye's song too. So this is a big weekend, as we mentioned. Cinco de Mayo is Friday, and Saturday is Derby Day, Kentucky Derby Day. Have you ever done a Derby party or been to a Derby party?
I've never been to a Derby party. I've never been to a Kentucky Derby. Have you? I'm sure you have.
I've not been to the Derby, but growing up, we had friends of the family who had Derby parties every year.
Wow.
I know. So Friday, and I'm not a big mint fan of the drink, the creme de mint fan.
Got you. Okay. So what you gonna do?
I'm gonna go and do some Cinco de Mayoing maybe tomorrow, and that'll be it. Friday is Cinco de Mayo, and Cinco de Mayo, or the 5th of May, is, a lot of people think or call it Mexican Independence Day. That's not true. It's another day that is Mexican Independence Day. Cinco de Mayo is a holiday that celebrates the date that the Mexican army on May 5th, 1862, had a war victory over France at the Battle of Puebla during the Franco-Mexican War. The Franco-Mexican War, 1862. Just imagine that. It is a Cinco de Mayo is a relatively minor event in Mexico, but in the United States, as many people know, it's taken on a life of its own. Involved, it has transformed into a commemoration of Mexican culture and heritage, particularly in the areas of large Mexican populations, or just at Mexican restaurants. That's where they do a lot of
There we go.
business.
El
Right,
Maguey's and stuff. Okay.
right, right, right. So, what is your favorite beverage? Is it a margarita, or you a sangria girl, or?
Oh, I am actually both.
So
So we
yeah.
call it Cinco de Drinko. So I would probably definitely do, if I'm gonna do a margarita, I definitely have to get it with reposado.
Mm-hmm.
I like a reposado tequila instead of the blanco.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just something very simple. A little lime, make it chill.
Do you
I
do
don't need all
salt?
of the
You
fireworks.
do rim?
Sugar.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
sugar girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you?
I do like a flavored margarita, but
Okay.
I like a strong beverage. I like an adult beverage.
Okay.
And I remember when I was there used to be a place in Chicago. It was called Dos Hermanos, and it was a Mexican restaurant run by some white guys. But they had the best frozen margaritas. Oh my God. I don't know if Dos Hermanos is still in business, but if somebody's in Chicago and you can tell me if Dos Hermanos, next time I go,
Yeah,
I
she
will
said them
get.
margaritas was
Now it
good.
just brought back great memories to me. Love a good frozen margarita. And sangria sometimes is nice on a warm day to have a nice cool sangria and
Yeah,
without
with
a
a
lot
little
of.
fruit, in it, just
Mm-hmm.
kind of kick back on the hammock. I actually bought a hammock, y'all, and
You've been
I put
talking
it
about
together
this hammock for a
because
moment.
man, because we've been having some beautiful weather here in Texas. So I have literally been loving my hammock, and I make a little cocktail. And I thought about it because you said
Oh, that's so
sangria,
sweet.
and I made a sangria the other day, and I just went out on the hammock and I fell asleep. Like it was just so peaceful. It felt so good. I bought some plants and some flowers and stuff to go on my balcony. So yeah, I'm excited about my hammock.
Oh,
You?
that's great. Do you and Gucci just lay in the hammock together, or does
Yes,
he?
I'll have to send you a picture. I have a
Okay.
picture of Gucci in the hammock.
Okay, I love to see that. Absolutely, absolutely. Just as people send me pictures of their children, I like to see the not the
The
cats,
fur
but I do
babies.
like the dogs pictures.
The fur babies.
Right, right, right. This is also Kentucky Derby weekend. This is the run of the 3-year-olds at the Derby, and sadly, Churchill Downs, where the Derby is held, is working with investigators after 4 horses have died.
Oh wow.
One was called Wild on Ice, entered to run, and in the first race of the Triple Crown series. Triple Crown is Derby, Preakness, and starts with a B.
I
Can't
wish I
remember.
could help you. Because I don't know nothing about what you're talking about.
The Preakness and the I can't remember. Oh, come to me. They entered to run in the first of the Triple Crown. He had to be euthanized last week after suffering a leg injury. That's
Oh.
usually not good. And 3 other horses who were not expected to run also died at Churchill. Thank you, the Belmont. Thank you, Kenneth Thomas on Facebook. Parents Pride and Chasing Artie died suddenly Saturday and Tuesday, and Take Charge Brianna was euthanized after sustaining a musculoskeletal injury during a
Oh.
Tuesday turf race. That's heartbreaking. That's
Yes.
heartbreaking.
And I feel like investigation should happen because it sounded a little fishy to me.
Yeah, it's a little suspicious. You're right. So the
Hmm.
Kentucky Derby has been held every year since 1875. It's been staged on the first Saturday in May of every year, hence the 6th, since 1946, with a couple of exceptions because of World War II and the pandemic. This year, Derby is Saturday, May 6th. It's held at Churchill Downs in Louisville. The post time is 6:57 p.m. Eastern time.
Mm.
So 3 minutes to 7 if you're
7.
on the
Yep.
East Coast, 3 minutes to 6 if you're in the Central Time Zone, and 3 minutes to 4
If
if
you
you
are
are
on the
on the
West
West
Coast.
Coast. And if you're in Hawaii, you don't need to worry about that. You're in heaven already.
Okay.
It's broadcast on NBC for folks who do want to watch, and it runs from 2:30 to 7:30 Eastern time. So good luck to you. I was going to give you a couple of the horses, but we are quickly running out of time. And I play a game of betting just in my head based upon the names. Forte, Tappet Trice,
Okay.
Angel of Empire, Derma Sadagaki, Practical Move, King's Barn, Two Fills, Mage, Verifying, Confidence Game, Skinner, Cyclone Mischief, Disarm, Hit Show, Mandarin Hero, Rocket Can, Continuar, Jace's Road, Ray's Cane, and Sun Thunder, and Reincarnate.
These are some names on these
Yeah.
horses.
Yeah. And
Jesus.
sometimes it's one person, but sometimes you have a conglomerate of owners of these horses.
Got you.
And so coming together with some of these names is really interesting. So good luck if you do place a bet, or if your horse does
share the wealth if you
win, place, or show. Yeah. It's time for entertainment, and the Minnesota Senate has approved renaming the stretch of Highway 5 to honor Prince.
Oh.
A stretch of the highway in the city that Prince called home will officially be renamed for the late musical icon in Minnesota. The Senate voted 55-5. Who are those 5 people? Said no.
They don't know music.
People. So they're such contrarians. To approve renaming part of I probably would have done it with some politicians in my day. If I'd been in office, I probably would have voted against them too. They voted 55-5 to approve renaming part of Highway 5 in Chanhassen to Prince Rogers Nelson Memorial Highway.
Okay.
The legislation stipulates the sign must be in purple. I hope they have a whole bunch of these signs made up already, because people are going to be in the middle of the night.
Yep.
Taking that sign down. Yep. It's very special to see this legislation to honor Prince Rogers Nelson through to the end, said Republican Senator Julia Coleman, who authored the bill. Prince Rogers Nelson Memorial Highway is a meaningful way we can commemorate the great accomplishments of a man known and admired worldwide, but who chose to call Chanhassen home. Chanhassen is home to Paisley Park, Prince's longtime home and recording complex that now serves as a museum dedicated to the Purple One. Prince Rogers Nelson Memorial Highway will run right past Paisley Park. That's really nice. That's nice. Yeah. If they were to name a highway in your honor in St. Louis, where would it be? Or road?
Ooh. Where would it be? Jesus. On the spot, probably on the south side of St. Louis, by Tower Grove, because that is where I was, like, my childhood was. Tower Grove is a park, so Tower Grove Park. So what about you?
I was thinking about that. The park near my house is Oakdale Park, and I don't know who Oakdale was, but I
kick
would like
Oakdale out.
And the street that I grew up on, it's been named in someone's honor. I don't know who it was, but and maybe the school across the street from.
Okay.
But I never went to that school.
I'm gonna put that in my notes. I have it in my notes.
I never went to the school, so it doesn't matter. Just the playground to play Foursquare and swing and stuff. All right, it's time for Yogi's Jewel. And we've been talking about the theme all week, and kindness is the theme. Today's jewel is being kind is the bedrock of a friendship. So Aprylete is a fine example of one who is kind and always a great spirit. So we appreciate that. And you are providing the bedrock for a friendship with a lot of people. So we appreciate that.
Oh, I love that. I received that.
And just so folks know, HBCU football classic time. The season is on its way. Yay. Check this out.
Get ready for an epic showdown on September 16th as Morehouse and Albany State take the field for the Toyota HBCU NY Classic at MetLife Stadium.
Football season is back, and this is the game you can't miss.
Join us for the world's largest HBCU homecoming to experience the thrill of HBCU culture like never before.
Enjoy the ultimate celebration with a pregame tailgate, battle of the bands, and an iconic halftime show.
Don't wait. Get your tickets now at hbcunyclassic.com.
All right, get your tickets now, September 16th. Be there or
A B square, baby.
You know how
Miss
that
out.
goes. Thanks, Aprylete. Have a wonderful weekend, and cheers to you on Cinco de Mayo. Enjoy your
Cheers to
day.
you too, Sybil.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Aloha.